In this video, I'm going to talk about the major differences between living in North Idaho and living somewhere else in the country. It's recently been brought to my attention that in my 81 other videos, I've talked about a lot of different aspects of living here, but I have not covered everything. To me, I thought these were just normal things, but recently on my trips to New York, San Diego, Bend, Oregon, Arizona, I'm starting to realize, some of these things are not normal and they need to be discussed. My audience needs to know. So on this video, that's what we're going to talk about. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Living Life in North Idaho. My name is Trent, and on this channel, we talk about what it's like living, eating, working, playing, and buying real estate here in Idaho. If that's of interest to you, make sure you tap the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so every time I come out with a new video, you get notified. And guys, every single week, even sometimes every day, I'm getting calls from people just like you that are watching the channel and they need a little bit more information about what it's like to live in Idaho, or they're ready to make the move. They know Idaho's the right place for them and they need someone to help make that happen. That's why me and my team are here. So if this is you, reach out with a phone call, text, or email, day, nights, weekends, it does not matter. We love helping people get moved to this wonderful state. Okay, so like I said, 81 videos, hours of information about what it's like living here in Idaho. And honestly, 30 years I've been here, I've not traveled a ton. I went to basic training in Missouri when I was 17. I go and visit family in California and in Denver and Seattle and Portland, but it's not, I'm just going and visiting, or I have a specific thing I'm doing. I've never just gone and really hung out. And recently I did that. I did that down in Palm Springs and San Diego. I went over to New York and stayed in Times Square for several days. I went and traveled around Seattle and Portland and just really put myself there to go, okay, if I was to live in this place, what would I want to know? And pretty quickly things started to come to me and I went, oh my gosh, I have not covered that stuff in my video. And I definitely think people want to know this. So some of this information I have discussed, but I'm going to go into more detail, and some of it I've never discussed before, especially the last thing that I'm going to cover in this video. So make sure you stick around and watch the whole thing, and let me know in the comments section what you think. If some of this stuff you go, oh, I didn't realize that's not normal, or you go, yeah, no, that's not normal at all. It does smell like hot garbage where I live. Anyway, so let's get started. The first thing is the drinking water. This is something that I seriously have just taken for granted. Up here in North Idaho, we have a giant aquifer. It's called the Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer, and it feeds all of Kootenai County. The water is delicious. The water does not smell weird. It is not weird to just grab something out of the tap. I mean, I recommend you use a filter, just who knows, but it is very, very good water. When I was going over to places like New York, it tasted fine, but there was no taste. It's like it had been stripped of everything, and it kind of left me feeling like I needed to drink a lot more water, or I eventually just went and got bottled water. Down in McCall, Idaho, I just want to say not all of Idaho has pristine water. McCall, Idaho, buddy's got a cabin down there. It smells like rotten eggs when you're taking a shower. It's real gross. I'm sure there's filtration systems that they could get to make it so it doesn't smell that way, but they don't. They say they kind of like it. I don't know why, but water tastes fine. It just smells very strong. And also down in California, you know, there are places that I've been that it's like, wow, that water just does not taste right. So here in North Idaho, water tastes great. You do sometimes have to get a well if you live way out in rural country, and you do need to make sure that you're doing the testing on that well on a regular basis. Make sure no contaminants are getting in it. Sometimes you can get funky tastes on certain wells, but a lot of times there's treatments for that. But I would say the vast majority of the drinking water up here in North Idaho, spot on, delicious. The next thing I was taking for granted and didn't really realize, hey, this is really different in other parts of the country, pests and insects. The reason why I didn't really think of it is because up here, we don't have too many. We have a couple of spiders you need to watch out for, the black widow and the wolf spider that, you know, you're not gonna die from it, but it's definitely gonna hurt and it might rot your flesh away a little bit. It's a little bit nasty, but it's not that big of a deal. You spray your house, you make sure you're wearing gloves when you're handling firewood. and you can avoid them. I've never been bit by one of those spiders, but my wife has. She does have a scar from it, so it's not something that I really worry about. We do have field mice that if you have a home out on the prairie, they might get into your garage, get into your house, so that can be an issue. But mouse traps fix that. And then you have raccoons that will occasionally get into your garbage can. But again, nothing compared to some of the other places I've been. I saw cockroaches and rats in New York City, down in Arizona. They've got the scorpions, there's snakes, there's all kinds of critters and things that you don't want to deal with. Here in North Idaho, really not a problem with pests. We do have a season, it's known as like gnat season, lasts for about a week and a half. Millions and millions of these little gnats, they blossom, hatch. They hatch because they're bugs, not flowers. And they do create a little bit of a mess. There's like clouds of them. They like to hang out by water and trees. So when you go for a run, you gotta have some glasses on and maybe a scarf so you're not inhaling them. But again, it's a week and a half. They're harmless, they're just annoying. So yeah, insects and pests, not a big deal here in North Idaho. And I know for some people, especially those living in Texas with the giant freaking spiders, might go, hey, that sounds pretty good. Now, I've mentioned in other videos talking about what it's like to eat out here, and I've said, yeah, there's not a ton of restaurants, but they're really good. It's true. I want to go into more detail about that. Going to places like New York and San Diego, there are places to eat all over the place, and a lot of them are really good, and they're open past 10. Here in North Idaho, we do have some really good restaurants, but we don't have a lot of good restaurants. And there's plenty that I just don't go to. They serve fairly cheap food. It's not well prepared. And when you've been eating in places like Portland, Seattle, New York, LA, you're gonna come up here and go, oh, okay. I mean, we've got some farm to table stuff. We've got some stuff that's pretty good, but it's nothing like living in the big city. So that's a major difference. Again, I've mentioned it, but I thought I should go a little bit deeper because for someone like me who likes to eat, it's kind of a bummer when I've been to the same restaurant every single day for the last few months. So yeah, talking to you, Nick Leonard at Fine Brood, I do eat there every single day. The next thing that I totally just thought was absolutely normal, not a big deal, smells. How things smell, how an area smells. Here in North Idaho, it usually smells pretty dang good. It smells like nature, it smells like fresh air. Or if I've eaten at Taco Bell, it sometimes doesn't smell too good. Just talk to my wife. But as far as the area goes, it smells good. There are places in Idaho, it doesn't smell that good. Down in the Treasure Valley area, there's a spot where they are, I can't remember what they're making. It's like beets. They're working with beets and it smells like burnt molasses. It's terrible. I mentioned it in my video about that area. So not all over Idaho, but in North Idaho, most of it smells really good. When I was in New York, when I was in San Diego, when I was in Phoenix area, hot garbage. Why do so many places smell like hot garbage? I get off the plane in Palm Springs, the first thing I notice, hot garbage smell. Why? Why? I mean, I get it in New York, they have to put the trash on the sidewalk. There's not really a good trash system, but seriously, in North Idaho, not hot trash smell. Maybe if you're walking down the back alleyway of some restaurants on a hot summer day, you might get hit with it, but that's because you're walking in the back alleyway. Why are you doing that anyway? But yeah, all over the place in the cities reeked of that. The other thing that I smelled a lot of, almost an uncomfortable amount, marijuana. New York, every 20 feet, somebody was smoking a joint. I mean, and there were cops everywhere. I don't know if it's legal. It must be. I don't know. They're just, everybody's smoking pot. That was pretty wild. And then especially down in California, lots of pot smell. I think they have lots of farms down there too that are growing the stuff. But yeah, up here, North Idaho, marijuana is not legal. It's very rare for you to smell it. I mean, you might be next to some Rastafarians playing hacky sack, you might smell it, but other than that, pretty rare. So yeah, smells here in North Idaho, 5 stars. Smells good. Now, I've talked about the kind of people that are living here in North Idaho, and I think I was fairly accurate, but I need to go into more detail about that. I've said that people up here in North Idaho are super friendly. Yes and no. I need to clarify that because there were some spots that I went to while I was traveling that people were literally just incredibly friendly. I couldn't believe it. Here in North Idaho, people will give you the benefit of the doubt. They will be nice when they meet you. But the moment they start to notice that you're a little bit cuckoo, or you're critical of the place that we live, or you're really loud and annoying, people will let you know. They'll start to kind of back off and go, okay. And some of them might just say it to your face. We don't like you. That is the authenticity and the realness of people here in North Idaho. That is honestly, for me, a breath of fresh air, because being around a ton of people that are just always nice to your face, trust me, nobody's that nice. But here in North Idaho, you don't really have to guess how people feel about you, what they think. Some people hate that. I've seen comments, people were so rude. Maybe, depends on the kind of person you are. But I will say, here in North Idaho, I love the people, because the ones that are real, the ones that are authentic and reliable, I wouldn't trade them for the world. So, you know what? 3.5 stars for the people here in North Idaho. I'm just kidding, 5 stars. The other thing I noticed that was very, very different was the political atmosphere. And what I mean by that is people that are expressing their opinions, having civil discourse, standing up for what they believe in. I was really surprised. I thought that maybe like going to super blue Democratic states, I'd see tons of Biden-Harris stuff. No, I really didn't. In fact, I heard no conversations about politics at all. I mean, you walk down the street in North Idaho, you're gonna hear somebody talking about politics. And it's not that they're arguing, but they're just discussing some things they've heard, kind of talking about what's going on, wondering what's happening next. That wasn't happening where I was going. In fact, I was talking to somebody in New York. I mentioned some stuff just to see if they wanted to chat about it, and it was very uncomfortable. It was weird. It was uncomfortable for them to bring up a political issue, which is a problem, because part of freedom of speech is the ability to have civil discourse, discuss issues, not agree, whatever. It has to happen if you want to have a free democracy. So, didn't really like that so much, but I realized that's probably what's attracting a lot of people to North Idaho, because in North Idaho, you absolutely can talk about this stuff. In fact, it's a prerequisite. You better know some political stuff you can discuss, because you're not gonna fit in here. I'm just kidding, it's not. But a lot of people like to talk about that stuff. So yeah, notice that, and I think that it's kind of a positive thing here in North Idaho. The next thing that I really take for granted, and I absolutely should not, is the trash and litter. Going to places like New York, San Diego, Arizona, I was just really surprised that there was quite a bit of litter, quite a bit of trash. I think I know why that's happening. I'm gonna talk about it here in a second. But yeah, here in North Idaho, not a lot of trash, not a lot of litter. There is a period of time shortly after winter that you will see a lot of litter in the median and off to the sides of the freeway. And the reason is because our winter storms will grab debris, grab garbage, take it with the wind, and then cover it with snow. And we forget that it's there because we don't see it. And then the snow melts and we have to wait for the crews to come clean it up. But other than that, North Idaho is a very clean, pristine looking place. And so yeah, when you're used to living in a place like downtown Portland or Seattle, it can be a really big breath of fresh air to go, hey, there's no syringes around me. So 5 stars on that. Another issue that really was not in my face until I took this trip, drugs. Drugs are an issue in New York, they're an issue in San Diego, they're an issue in Seattle, and Portland. It is crazy. I think it was about every 100 feet I had somebody trying to hand me a joint in New York. We had people offering us cocaine, and there were like cops right there. I was like, wow, this is different, this is crazy. In North Idaho, drugs are not legal. Marijuana is not legal. It's not even legal for medicinal use, which some people feel pretty strongly that it should be. But yeah, drugs are not really an issue here. Yes, we do have some meth addicts. Yes, we do have pill poppers and things like that. Every state, every town, in fact, some of the really small towns are riddled with it. So yes, we do have that, but it is not in your face, and the police do go after it. And talking about the police, that's my next subject. Again, taking it for granted. When I was in New York, police everywhere, literally everywhere. It's kind of nice because obviously there's a lot of people there. You don't know their state of mind. And so it was nice to go, hey, there they are. In California, saw barely any. Arizona, barely any. Seattle, Portland, very rare for me to see a police officer. I don't know if that's because of the defund the police stuff going on, but here in North Idaho, there are a lot of police, and I see one almost every time I go out. I don't interact with them much, but I know they don't mess around when it comes to crime, and I feel like it's a very good balance between the amount of people here and the amount of police officers. It made me a little bit uncomfortable, especially seeing the environment we were in places like Seattle and Portland, and going, wow, I don't know where any police officers are. Didn't like that so much. So North Idaho, there are police officers. They're very reliable, professional, and I am glad they're here, especially after traveling to places where there weren't many. Now, I mentioned that I was gonna discuss something a little bit later, homelessness and crime. As you know, if you don't live in North Idaho, homelessness is such a major issue everywhere. And I know this topic, I have to be careful, because this is the kind of stuff that later down the road somebody gets sensitive about and I get canceled, my channel goes away. What I will say about the homelessness issue is it reminds me when I learned about the Civil War and how they dealt with bullet wounds on extremities. And I actually learned, because I was a pretty big history buff, I really loved learning about wars as I was growing up. And I learned that some people, there was a group of people that said, that's barbaric. You're chopping off their limb. You can't do that. It was a very small group of people, but then there were soldiers that said, no, you're not taking my leg. Remember Dances with Wolves, Kevin Costner, don't take my leg? There were some soldiers that refused for them to chop off part of their body, and they ended up dying. And it's a brutal way of dealing with a problem, but it saves the body until they came up with medicine that they no longer have to do that. But if they refuse to do it because it seems barbaric and it's brutal and there's so much pain and everything, then the body dies. And that's kind of how I see this homelessness issue right now. And nobody wants to hear that right now. I think there's some people that are nodding their heads yes, and a lot of people that are going, what a jerk. These are people. Yes, I understand, just like, hey, this is part of my body. But if it goes, I think it's sepsis, I can't remember what it's called. But if it starts to poison the rest of my body, I have to do something about it. And right now I'm seeing that a lot of these cities, a lot of these states, they don't want to do what needs to be done because it's too brutal, it's too harsh, people don't like to think about it. But it really makes me sad to see what's going on in our country. Okay, just want to say real quick, as I'm editing this video, I realized that what I was saying could be taken in many different ways. I just want to clarify, I'm not talking about doing anything that is cruel or unusual to people that are homeless. What I'm saying is that we need to look at all of the options, like the ones that we used to have with having the state-run mental hospitals. Yes, there were some bad things that happened there, but they were serving a really great purpose. And instead of fixing the bad things, they decided to just shut them down. That's what I'm talking about, not doing something cruel and unusual. Let's get back to the video. Here in North Idaho, it's not an issue. Yes, we sometimes get drifters that come through here, and the police will go and tell them, you can either go to a shelter, you can go to a nonprofit and see if they'll help you. But if they don't and you want to just hang around, then you will get arrested the moment we see you commit a crime. And that does include loitering. That does include some of the more basic crimes, because you give them an inch, they will take a mile, as we're seeing. And so in North Idaho, I don't know if I can say that homelessness isn't an issue. I know that there are homeless that are at shelters, but we deal with the problem differently, and I think we're dealing with it well. So when it comes to the homelessness issue, compared to the other places I visited, North Idaho deals with their homeless issue in a way that I think it should be dealt with. And the very last thing, so I don't end this on a bummer note, traffic. Wow. I would say, oh my gosh, yeah, North Idaho has traffic. Going to New York, going to San Diego, North Idaho doesn't have any traffic. Now, I will say, there are times that the speed on the freeway gets really slow, and there's some choice words I have for that, because it's not necessarily an accident. A lot of times it's just an Idaho State Patrol officer who's pulled somebody over and everybody's rubbernecking. They're looking side to side, and it's so frustrating because there's no reason for it to slow down, but it will sometimes get backed up because of that. I'm pretty sure they're gonna change something. They're gonna start putting out stuff to tell people, stop doing that, just keep driving, just move over if you can. But right now, it's very frustrating. So when it comes to traffic, North Idaho, nope, not compared to a major city. No traffic. Now you're gonna have locals who will go, yeah, right, you're stupid, it's traffic. It's because they haven't visited other places like I just have. Go visit New York, go visit Portland, Seattle during rush hour, and then tell me North Idaho has traffic. It really doesn't. So guys, that is it. Those are the major differences that I have failed to talk about in my other videos that I hope you find helpful when deciding if North Idaho is the right place for you. And if you have decided North Idaho is the right place for you, or you need a little bit more information, reach out to me and my team at the phone number listed right here with the email address. Text me, day, nights, weekends. We are here to help you get moved to Idaho if that's what you want to do. Make sure you leave me a like and comment if you found this video to be helpful, and make sure you subscribe because I'm going to come out with a video next week, and I'd really like you to see it because it might just be the best thing ever. I don't know, I just keep making these hoping it goes viral like my Avoid Moving to Idaho video did. None of them have, but that's fine. I enjoy this process, and I really enjoy when people call me and I get to help them. So make sure you do that, and until the last video, I will see you later.